The chamber was cold in the way only old stone could be. High ceilings vanished into shadows, the walls etched with symbols that predated most of the known galactic empires. It smelled of damp stone, old blood, and ancient arrogance. In the center of the arena-like space stood the representatives of 6 species, delegates, ambassadors, and warriors, all gathered for what was supposed to be a diplomatic hearing. It wasn't going well. Eli Mercer stood near the periphery, his dark suit clean, his translation device tucked discreetly behind his ear, though frankly, he hardly needed it. Human linguistic faculties were notoriously adaptable, and Eli was one of the best. That's why he was here. After all, he wasn't military. He wasn't a soldier or an operative, just a linguist, contracted to the Terran embassy to mediate communications during what was ostensibly a tribunal to resolve a territorial dispute between the Onvar Dominion and the Seth Collective. Only things had escalated. The Onvar Dominion, sleek reptilian bipeds with crystalline scales and a penchant for legal technicalities, had accused the Seth, a predatory, serpentine species with brutal reputation, of violating ancient accords by colonizing a forbidden star system. The Seth denied it, of course. Words were exchanged, accusations sharpened, threats were implied and then stated outright. And now, the tribunal had devolved into what the galactic community delicately called a right of resolution. Trial by combat. Eli had no business being here anymore. His job was words, not blood. He'd expected to be dismissed, maybe escorted out, while the 2 species settled things the old-fashioned way, with claws, blades, and pride. But that wasn't how this was unfolding. The Seth representative, a towering, muscular male named Savar, had turned, yellow eyes gleaming, and pointed directly at Eli. His words, sharp as razors in the common trade language, echoed through the chamber. We invoked the right of proxy. The arena fell deathly silent. Even the Onvar delegation hissed in surprise. The arbiter, an ancient, 4-armed Kethri with silver carapace and the patience of a glacier, tilted their head. You select a human? Savar's tongue flicked, tasting the air. His voice rumbled with amusement and contempt. Indeed, the Terran spoke much during proceedings. Let him prove his species' honor with action, not words. Eli's stomach dropped. He opened his mouth to protest, but the Kethri arbiter was already speaking. Under the Accords, proxy selection is binding. Human, do you refuse? He wanted to. Every rational fiber of his being screamed to refuse. But across the arena, cameras hovered, broadcasting this farce to the entire galactic assembly. Declining, in front of that audience, would be weakness, cowardice, a humiliation not just for him, but for Earth. And Eli knew one thing above all. Humanity's place in this galaxy was still precarious. Fear was power. Reputation was everything. He swallowed, straightened his suit jacket, and forced his voice steady. No, I accept. The arena erupted in overlapping languages. Gasps, hisses, laughter. Somewhere behind him, a Terran envoy swore under their breath. It didn't matter. The gears were turning now. Within minutes, Eli found himself stripped of his jacket, tied discarded, sleeves rolled. A selection of archaic weapons, blades, staffs, blunt implements, were presented. Eli's hand hovered uncertainly, eyes scanning them. He wasn't a fighter. Not really. But he was observant. That was his job. And he noticed the slight imbalance in the staff's grip, the dull edge of the ceremonial sword. This wasn't just a fight, it was theater. The weapons weren't sharpened, but they could kill if wielded right. Savar stepped onto the combat platform with predatory grace, muscles rippling beneath scale and ceremonial armor. He carried no weapon beyond his own claws and fangs. Confidence radiated from him. Eli exhaled slowly, selecting a short, dense baton. Not elegant, not impressive, but practical. He gripped it in both hands as the arbiter raised one arm. Begin. Savar lunged. Fast. Too fast. A blur of scales and teeth. A killing machine honed by evolution. Eli barely sidestepped, adrenaline exploding through his veins. His mind raced, analyzing posture, reach, timing. He remembered the combat seminars at the embassy, the self-defense training he'd half dismissed. Now, those fragments of knowledge might be all that kept him alive. Savar struck again, a sweeping claw meant to rip flesh. Eli ducked, pivoted, and jabbed the baton into the Setha's exposed flank. The impact was solid, eliciting a surprise hiss, but not much more. A fluke hit wouldn't win this. He needed leverage. They circled, the crowd's murmurs fading into white noise. Eli's pulse thundered in his ears as he focused. The arena's floor was polished stone, slightly uneven near the edges. The overhead lighting cast deep shadows. He baited Savar, feigning clumsiness, drawing him toward the perimeter. The Seth, confident in superior strength, obliged. Eli slipped, deliberately exaggerated, landing near a patch of spilled ceremonial sand. Savar pounced. At the last second, Eli rolled beneath the lunging predator, baton striking hard into the joint behind Savar's knee. The bigger male stumbled. Eli came up fast, swinging the baton into the Setha's throat. It wasn't enough to crush a windpipe, but it disrupted his balance. Savar lashed out blindly, claws slicing across Eli's shoulder. Pain bloomed hot and immediate, blood staining his shirt. The crowd roared, whether in approval or anticipation. Eli couldn't tell. He couldn't afford to hesitate. Every diplomatic briefing, every psychological profile of the Seth species flooded his mind. Predators, respect strength, fear unpredictability. Eli bared his teeth, not a polite human smile, but something raw and animalistic. He straightened despite the bleeding gash, baton steadying his grip, eyes locked onto Savar's. "Is that all?" His voice was low, carrying across the platform like a dare. The Seth froze. Surprise flickered, followed by anger. He charged recklessly. That was what Eli wanted. Eli ducked under the first swipe, shifted his weight, and slammed the baton's end into Savar's jaw with every ounce of force he could muster. Bone cracked. The larger alien reeled. Eli didn't stop. He swept the baton low, taking Savar's legs out from under him. The predator hit the stone floor with a resounding thud. Before Savar could recover, Eli straddled him, baton pressing hard against the Setha's throat. His own blood dripped onto the scaled chest beneath him, staining the polished armor. "Yield," Eli commanded. Savar snarled, but the fight was draining from his eyes. The crowd was silent now, watching, judging. "Yield," Eli repeated, pressing harder, the baton trembling slightly from adrenaline and effort. Finally, Savar's clawed hands tapped the floor, the universal gesture of submission. The arbiter's voice boomed. "The human proxy is victorious. Resolution is complete." Applause erupted, staggered at first, then building into a thunderous ovation, some sincere, others undoubtedly laced with shock or amusement. Eli stood, chest heaving, blood running warm down his side. His shirt clung to him, stained crimson, and yet he was standing, alive, victorious. As he left the platform, Terran delegates surged toward him. Medical personnel, aides, wide-eyed observers. But the clapping continued, alien hands, claws, appendages of all shapes coming together in recognition. He was just there to translate. But now, he was something else entirely. In the diplomatic lounges later, as his wounds were cleaned and his suit replaced, whispers followed him. The human linguist, "Did you see?" Bloodied but grinning, terrifying, they led a translator into the right, and he... Earth's reputation had changed in that arena, not through fleets or weapons, but through one human, cornered yet defiant, who reminded the galaxy of an uncomfortable truth. Humanity wasn't just here to talk. Sometimes they answered with action, and the galaxy was listening now.